Every year, millions of people watch the Super Bowl. They watch the touchdowns, they watch the halftime show, they watch the commercials that cost more per second than most people make in a year. But almost nobody watches the 30 seconds before the game even starts. A coin flip on the 50-yard line, decided by a piece of metal spinning through the air. And here's the strange part. That coin flip and the handful of rules hiding behind it can decide who wins the single biggest game in American sports. So today, we're breaking down the actual rule book behind the Super Bowl, the overtime format that was born out of controversy, the coin toss stats nobody talks about, the home team that never plays at home, and the officials who have to survive an entire season of grading just to earn a spot on the field. Let's get into it.
Let's start with the rule that fans argue about more than any other. Overtime. Rewind to January 2022. The Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills are locked in one of the greatest playoff games in NFL history. 58 points are scored in the fourth quarter alone. The game goes to overtime. Kansas City wins the coin toss, drives down the field, scores a touchdown, and the game is over. Buffalo's offense, one of the best in the league that year, never even touched the ball. Fans were furious.
Analysts were furious. Josh Allen didn't get a single snap to answer, and the NFL realized their overtime format had a fundamental flaw. A coin flip could now decide a season without the losing team ever getting a real chance to respond. So the league changed the rules, but only for the playoffs at first. Here's how postseason and Super Bowl overtime works today. It starts, like always, with a coin toss. The winning captain can choose to receive the ball, kick it away, defer the choice to the second option, or pick which end zone to defend. But now, both teams are guaranteed a possession. Even if the team that gets the ball first scores a touchdown on their opening drive, the game doesn't end. The other team gets the ball back with a real chance to tie or win. Here's exactly one exception. If the defense scores first, meaning they force a safety on the opening possession, the game ends immediately. No second possession needed. If both teams score on their first possessions and the game is still tied, the format flips back to true sudden death. Whoever scores next wins, instantly. And playoff overtime periods are longer than regular season ones. 15 minutes instead of 10, with a 2-minute break between periods. And critically, there are no ties in the playoffs. The game keeps going, period after period, until somebody wins. In the regular season, if nobody scores after one overtime period, the game can just end in a tie. Not in the playoffs. Not in the Super Bowl. Someone has to leave with the trophy. This exact rule got its biggest test in Super Bowl February 2024. San Francisco won the toss, chose to receive, and kicked a field goal on their opening drive. Under the old rules, that field goal might not have mattered much. Kansas City just needed to match or beat it. Under the new rules, Kansas City got their real chance. They marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and won the Super Bowl in overtime. The exact scenario the rule was designed to protect. That's only the second time in NFL history a Super Bowl needed overtime at all. The first was Super Bowl 51, when the Patriots came back from 28-3 down to beat the Falcons. So next time you see a coin flip before overtime, remember, that flip used to be able to end a season on its own. Now, it just decides who touches the ball first. Speaking of coin flips, let's talk about the one that happens before the game even starts, because the numbers behind it are genuinely strange. Before kickoff, team captains, up to 6 per team, including honorary ones, meet at the 50-yard line. Only one captain from the visiting team calls the toss in the air, shouting heads or tails while the coin is still spinning. If there's no designated home team, like at the Super Bowl's neutral site, the referee decides who gets to call it. Traditionally, the team designated as the visitor for that game. Whoever wins gets 4 options: kick, receive, defer, or choose which end of the field to defend. Here's the twist.
Winning the coin toss statistically means almost nothing. Across the first 58 Super Bowls, the team that won the toss went on to win the game only 26 times and lost 32 times. That's worse than a coin flip itself. And the heads versus tails debate? Tails has a slight historical edge, 30 wins to 28 for heads across those games, but it swings back and forth constantly. Heads once won 5 Super Bowl tosses in a row. A streak with roughly a 3% chance of happening randomly. One franchise dominates this trivia category more than any other. The Dallas Cowboys have won the coin toss 6 times, more than any team in Super Bowl history. It's a 50-50 flip of a coin. It decides essentially nothing about who wins, and yet it's one of the most watched 30 seconds of the entire broadcast. Because in a sport built on inches and preparation, there's something oddly thrilling about the one moment neither team can control. Here's a rule most casual fans have no idea exists. Every single Super Bowl has an official home team, even though the game is always played at a neutral site that neither team actually plays in during the regular season. The NFL decides this with a simple rotation. In even-numbered Super Bowls, the NFC champion is designated the home team. In odd-numbered Super Bowls, it's the AFC champion. It has nothing to do with the host city, the stadium, or which team traveled less. It's a strict alternation that's been running for decades, regardless of matchup. So what does home team actually get if there's no home crowd and no home field advantage? Mostly small, symbolic things. First choice of jersey color, which sounds trivial, but teams take it seriously. Some players are superstitious about their home whites versus their away colors. Some franchises have literally better win-loss records in one jersey than the other. The home team also typically gets the preferred locker room. In stadiums with one clearly nicer facility, that room goes to whoever's designated home that year, regardless of whose stadium it actually is. Ticket allocation, meanwhile, doesn't favor either side. Each participating team gets around the same number of tickets. Roughly 9,500 apiece out of a stadium that can hold anywhere from 65,000 to over 90,000 fans, with the rest split between sponsors, the league, and the host city. So even the home team is playing in front of a crowd that's mostly neutral fans, sponsors, and whoever could afford a ticket that often resells for thousands of dollars. In other words, the Super Bowl's home field advantage is almost entirely ceremonial. The real advantage in the Super Bowl doesn't come from the rule book, it comes from what happens on the field. Now here's a rule that applies to people most fans never think about at all: the officials. Unlike the regular season, where the same 7-person crew works together all year, the Super Bowl doesn't send one existing crew to officiate the game. Instead, the NFL builds an entirely new, hand-picked crew, one position at a time. Here's how. Throughout the entire regular season, the league grades every single official at every single position on every single call using an internal evaluation system. Missed penalties, blown calls, mechanics, positioning, all of it gets scored. When the postseason arrives, the highest graded official at each position, referee, umpire, down judge, line judge, field judge, side judge, back judge, and the replay official, get selected to work the Super Bowl. Think of it as the officiating version of an all-star team, except selection is based purely on a season of graded performance, not popularity or fan votes. But grading well isn't enough on its own. Officials also need real playoff experience to even be eligible. Historically, at least 5 seasons in the league, with the head referee needing prior experience specifically refereeing a playoff game. Other crew members typically need a conference championship assignment or multiple playoff appearances across recent seasons. The league has loosened some of these requirements in recent years. But the core idea hasn't changed. You cannot simply have one great season and land the Super Bowl. You have to already have postseason scar tissue. And once assigned, most of the crew won't have ever worked together before that specific game. They're pulled from different regular season crews across the league and combined for the first time, sometimes just weeks before kickoff, with maybe one shared playoff assignment together beforehand to build a little chemistry. It's a strange contradiction at the heart of the sport. The single most watched, highest pressure game of the year is often officiated by a crew of specialists meeting each other for what's essentially the first time, chosen not because they're used to playing together, but because individually they graded out as the best in the business.
So the next time you watch the Super Bowl, you're not just watching two teams, you're watching a rule book that was rewritten after a controversial playoff game, a coin toss with almost no predictive power, a home team that's home in name only, and a crew of officials who spent an entire season auditioning for one single night. The next chapter of this rulebook gets written soon. Super Bowl LXI kicks off on February 14, 2027 at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood,
California. And for the first time ever, it'll be broadcast on both ESPN and ABC at the same time. Whoever wins that coin toss won't have much of an edge, but now you'll actually understand what's happening when it happens. If you learned something new here, let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more breakdowns of the rules hiding behind the games you already love watching.